Imagine this. In the heart of America's divided streets, a routine traffic stop explodes into a nightmare of prejudice and power until a shocking revelation flips the script, exposing corruption that hits home whether you're in the bustling chaos of New York or the historic lanes of London. This gripping tale of injustice, twists, and redemption will keep you on the edge of your seat, mirroring the real-world headlines that unite us in outrage and hope. Hit that subscribe button, now join our community of truth seekers across the USA and UK, and never miss a story that challenges the system and sparks change. Subscribe today, and let's dive in. In the sweltering heat of a late summer afternoon in Atlanta, Georgia, Officer Harlan Graves gripped the steering wheel of his patrol car, his eyes scanning the bustling streets of the predominantly black neighborhood like a hawk searching for prey. Harlan was a veteran cop, 20 years on the force. With a reputation that whispered through the precinct like a bad secret racist, they said, but no one dared say it to his face. His badge gleamed under the dashboard light, a symbol of authority. He wielded like a club, especially against those who didn't look like him. Today, his shift was dragging, the radio crackling with mundane calls about shoplifters and domestic disputes. Nothing to get his blood pumping. That changed when he spotted a sleek black SUV cruising down MLK Boulevard, its tinted windows reflecting the fading sun. The driver was black, mid-30s, dressed sharply in a suit that screamed money, too much money for this part of town, Harlan thought with a sneer. He flipped on his lights, the siren blaring a short whoop that made pedestrians scatter. The SUV pulled over smoothly, no hesitation, which only fueled Harlan's suspicion. In his mind, compliance was just a facade for something sinister. As he approached, hand resting on his holster, he could already picture the headlines if things went south. Another thug resisting arrest. The window rolled down, revealing Marcus Hale, a man with calm brown eyes and a face that held no fear, only mild annoyance. License and registration, Harlan barked, his voice laced with the drawl of old Southern prejudice. Marcus reached slowly for his glove compartment, producing the documents without a word. Harlan snatched them, scanning the eye to Marcus Hale. Address in an upscale suburb, no priors popping up on his quick radio check, but something nagged at him. The name sounded familiar, like a ghost from a newsreel he couldn't place. Step out of the vehicle, Harlan ordered, his tone escalating without reason. Marcus sighed, unbuckling his seatbelt. Officer, may I ask why I was pulled over? He inquired politely, his voice educated, almost professorial. Harlan's face twisted. He hated that black folks talking like they were better than him. Taillights out? He lied, though he hadn't even checked. Marcus stepped out, hands visible, towering a bit over Harlan at 6'2". His build athletic from years of discipline. Harlan's hand twitched toward his taser. Size like that meant threat in his book. A quick pat down revealed nothing, no drugs, no weapons, just a wallet and a phone. But Harlan wasn't satisfied. He radioed for backup, claiming suspicious behavior. Minutes later, 2 more cruisers arrived. Officers Jenkins and Ramirez, both younger, both knowing Harlan's playbook but too green to challenge it. They cuffed Marcus despite his protests, reading him his rights for resisting when all he'd done was ask questions. As they shoved him into the back of the patrol car, Marcus's mind raced not with fear, but calculation. He was no ordinary man. He was Special Agent Marcus Hale of the FBI, undercover 4 months on a corruption case that led straight to the Atlanta PD, but revealing that now would blow his cover. So he played along, his eyes meeting Harlan's in the rearview mirror with a knowing glint that unsettled the officer. The drive to the station was tense, Harlan muttering slurs under his breath, words like boy and worse, testing Marcus's restraint. At the precinct, they booked him on trumped-up charges, driving under the influence, though no test was administered, and possession of a controlled substance after Harlan found a baggie in the SUV that Marcus knew wasn't his. Fingerprints taken, mugshots snapped. Marcus was thrown into a holding cell with drunks and petty thieves, his suit rumpled, his dignity intact. Hours passed. He made his one phone call not to a lawyer, but to his handler at the bureau, whispering codes that set wheels in motion. Meanwhile, Harlan patted himself on the back, filing reports laced with fabrications, unaware that the man he'd arrested was the key to unraveling a web of police corruption that involved bribes, drug trafficking, and racial profiling orchestrated by none other than his own captain. As night fell, Marcus sat in the dim cell, plotting his next move, while Harlan headed home to his trailer on the outskirts, cracking open a beer and scrolling through social media feeds filled with memes that echoed his biases. Little did he know, the arrest had triggered a chain reaction. Body cam footage, though Harlan had forgotten to turn his on, was captured by a bystander with a smartphone. The video already going viral on platforms like Twitter and TikTok, sparking outrage in communities across the USA and even crossing the Atlantic to the UK, where similar stories of institutional racism resonated deeply. Protests brewed online, hashtags like #JusticeForMarcus trending, drawing attention from civil rights groups and media outlets hungry for a scandal. Back in the cell, Marcus allowed a small smile. This was the twist he needed, the catalyst to expose the rot from within. But as the hours ticked by, doubts crept in. What if his cover held too well? What if the Bureau's response was delayed? Harlan, sensing something off, decided to interrogate Marcus personally the next morning, his instincts screaming that this wasn't just another stop. The stage was set for confrontation, alliances tested, and secrets unearthed in the humid underbelly of Southern justice. Dawn broke over the Atlanta skyline, casting long shadows through the barred windows of the precinct's interrogation room, where Marcus Hale sat chained to a metal table, his suit now wrinkled and stained from the night's discomfort. Officer Harlan Graves entered with a swagger, coffee in hand, flanked by Detective Sarah Mills, a no-nonsense woman in her 40s who'd climbed the ranks despite the boys' club atmosphere. Sarah had her doubts about Harlan, whispers of his past, misconducts, dismissed complaints from black motorists. Unexplained bruises on suspects had reached her ears, but evidence was always thin. Today, she was here to oversee, her sharp eyes missing nothing. Harlan slammed a folder down, photos of the planted drugs spilling out. "All right, boy," he sneered, ignoring Sarah's subtle flinch at the term. "Time to come clean. Who you working for? A gang cartel?" Marcus met his gaze steadily, his FBI training kicking in. Remain.com. Observe, exploit weaknesses. "I'm innocent, officer. This is a mistake." Harlan laughed, a harsh bark that echoed off the walls. He leaned in close, breath reeking of stale tobacco. "Mistake. I don't make mistakes with your kind." Sarah cleared her throat. "Harlan, let's stick to procedure." But Harlan waved her off, pulling out Marcus's phone, which he'd confiscated. No passcode ad, he thought, but convenient. Scrolling through contacts, he found nothing incriminating. Family, a few friends, a number labeled work. He dialed it, putting it on speaker. A voice answered, crisp and professional. "Federal Bureau of Investigation, Atlanta Field Office. How may I direct your call?" Harlan's face paled. He hung up quickly, chuckling nervously. "Nice trick, planting. That you're some kind of hacker?" Marcus suppressed a grin. The number was real, but rerouted through Bureau safeguards. This was the first twist Harlan's paranoia feeding into the trap. As the interrogation dragged on, Harlan grew aggressive, slamming fists on the table, accusing Marcus of everything from terrorism to identity theft. Sarah intervened more, sensing the volatility, but Harlan's ego blinded him. Outside, the precinct buzzed with unusual activity. Unmarked sedans pulled up, agents in suits mingling with uniforms, whispers of a federal inquiry spreading like wildfire. Captain Elias Thorne, Harlan's superior, and the architect of the corruption ring, paced in his office, sweat beading on his brow. He'd built an empire on kickbacks from drug lords, using officers like Harlan to target rivals and protect allies, all under the guise of toughened crime policing. Marcus's arrest was a wild card. Thorne recognized the name from intercepted intel. Was the ghost haunting his operations? He ordered Harlan to handle it, code for making the problem disappear. Back in the room, Harlan uncuffed Marcus for a bathroom break, but instead led him to a secluded stairwell, backup officers conveniently absent. "You think you're smart?" Harlan hissed, drawing his baton. Marcus dodged the first swing, his training evident now, countering with a precise strike that disarmed Harlan, but he held back, not wanting to escalate yet. Sarah burst in, alerted by a tip from a fellow officer who'd grown disillusioned with the corruption. "What the hell, Harlan?" she yelled, drawing her weapon. The scuffle ended with Harlan subdued, Marcus recuffed for show. This twist exposed fractures in the department. Sarah, secretly cooperating with the FBI, had been feeding info for weeks. As Marcus was returned to holding, Thorne convened an emergency meeting with his inner circle. Cops, a dirty DA, even a judge on the take. They plotted to frame Marcus deeper, planting evidence in his home via a warrant based on lies. But Marcus's handler, Agent Lana Cruz, was one step ahead. Wiretaps caught the conspiracy, warrants for arrests prepared. Meanwhile, the viral video exploded globally. BBC News picked it up, drawing parallels to UK cases like Stephen Lawrence, fueling transatlantic discussions on systemic racism. Protests erupted in Atlanta, Londoners joining solidarity marches. Harlan, nursing bruises, drowned his rage in whiskey at a dive bar, unaware his phone was cloned by FBI techs. That night, as Marcus feigned sleep in his cell, intruders by Thorne tried to silence him with a shiv attack disguised as a inmate brawl. Marcus fought them off, sustaining minor wounds, but the incident triggered alarms. The Bureau moved in. SWAT teams raided the precinct at midnight, arresting Thorne and accomplices. Harlan escaped narrowly, fleeing into the night. A fugitive, now Marcus was extracted, his cover intact for the public, but blown internally. The chapter closed with Marcus in a safe house, bandaged, reviewing dossiers on remaining threats, while Harlan hunkered in a motel, plotting revenge. The twists, multiplying like shadows in the dark. With the dawn of a new day came chaos in Atlanta's law enforcement circles. News helicopters hovered over the precinct, reporters clamoring for statements as federal agents carted out boxes of evidence. Captain Thorne in cuffs, his empire crumbling under the weight of indictments for racketeering, bribery, and civil rights violations. Marcus Hale, now officially revealed as FBI Special Agent Hale, stood in a debriefing room at the field office, his wounds stitched, his resolve steelier than ever. Agent Lena Cruz paced before him, her Latina heritage evident in her fiery demeanor. "You blew it wide open, Marcus, but Harlan's in the wind dangerous, armed and unhinged." Marcus nodded. He'd known Harlan's type cornered animals lash out. The twist here was personal. During the raid, files revealed Harlan wasn't just a racist cop, but Thorne's half-brother, hidden to avoid nepotism scrutiny. Their bond forged in shared bigotry and criminality. This familial tie explained Harlan's untouchability, the dismissed complaints stacking up like unsolved cases. As Marcus geared up for the manhunt, flashbacks haunted him. Growing up in Chicago's South Side, witnessing police brutality firsthand, losing a brother to a wrongful shooting, that's what drove him to the bureau, to infiltrate and dismantle from within. Now, with Harlan loose, the chase began. Harlan holed up an abandoned warehouse on the city's edge, scavenged supplies from his go-bag, burner phone, cash, a stolen pistol. He called old contact sex cops turned mercenaries, rallying a small crew for a counterstrike. His plan: kidnap Marcus's family to draw him out, force a confession that the FBI framed Thorne. But twists abounded. One contact was an undercover Fed tipping off Lena. Marcus's team tracked Harlan via traffic cams and cell pings, leading to a high-speed pursuit through rain-slicked streets, sirens wailing, bullets flying. Harlan's truck crashed into a barrier, but he escaped on foot into the woods. Wounded but defiant, Marcus pursued alone, against orders. The forest, a labyrinth of shadows and memories. They confronted under a stormy sky, Harlan ranting about reverse racism and deep state conspiracies. His gun trained on Marcus. "You think you're a hero? You're just affirmative action with a badge." Marcus disarmed him in a brutal fight, but spared his life justice, not vengeance. Harlan's arrest was broadcast live, body cams capturing his slurs, fueling more outrage. Yet another twist. During interrogation, Harlan revealed a bigger fiche: a national network of corrupt officers spanning states, linked to white supremacist groups. This expanded the investigation, Marcus leading task forces across the USA, even coordinating with UK Interpol on international ties to far-right extremists. Protests evolved into reforms. Bodycam mandates strengthened, diversity training revamped. But personally, Marcus grappled with trauma, seeking therapy, reconnecting with family. Harlan, in prison, plotted escapes, his hatred festering. The chapter peaked with Marcus testifying in Thorne's trial. Evidence overwhelming, but a juror tampering attempt, another twist that nearly derailed it. Exposed by Sarah Mills, now promoted. As verdicts came down, guilty on all counts, Marcus felt a hollow victory. The system was flawed, but changeable. Harlan's final glare from the dock promised retribution, setting up the ultimate confrontation. In the aftermath of the trials, Atlanta breathed a tentative sigh of relief. The streets quieter, though scars of division ran deep. Marcus Hale, hailed as a hero in media from CNN to The Guardian, retreated to a quiet life, or so it seemed. A desk job at the bureau to heal, but shadows lingered. Harlan Graves, sentenced to life for his crimes, including attempted murder and corruption, rotted in a maximum security prison, his appeals denied. But his influence persisted through smuggled messages to loyalists outside. The final twist unraveled. Slowly, Harlan had a daughter, Emily, unknown to most, raised in secrecy. Now a young officer in a neighboring department, indoctrinated with her father's views, but conflicted. Emily infiltrated the FBI's witness protection program, targeting Marcus for assassination as revenge. Marcus, sensing surveillance, went off-grid, luring her into a trap in the Appalachian Mountains, a neutral ground far from urban chaos. Their encounter was electric. Emily, gun drawn, spewing inherited hate. But Marcus talked her down, sharing stories of his own losses. The cycle of pain, racism, perpetuated. In a poignant moment, Emily broke, revealing Harlan's final plan: a bomb at a civil rights rally, timed to incite riots and discredit reforms. Marcus and Emily raced back, alerting authorities. The device was defused, lives saved. Emily turned state's evidence, exposing the remnants of the network, leading to more arrests. This redemption arc humanized the story, Emily choosing light over darkness, enrolling in reform programs. Marcus, inspired, returned to fieldwork, training new agents on bias awareness, his experiences a curriculum. Across the pond, UK audiences drew parallels to their own struggles, with documentaries featuring Marcus's story airing on BBC, sparking policy debates in Parliament. The narrative closed on a hopeful note. Marcus, at a community event, shaking hands with former adversaries, including a rehabilitated Sarah Mills. Now Chief Harlan, isolated and solitary, received a letter from Emily, disowning him. His empire truly ended. Twists had woven a tapestry of betrayal, revelation, and renewal, proving that while prejudice festers, courage illuminates. The end saw Marcus driving into the sunset, SUV repaired, a symbol of resilience. ready for whatever came next in the ongoing fight for justice.